Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. As always, I'm joined by the exiled dub Tommy Lyons and the maestro himself, Declan O'Donoghue. We are going to be discussing all matters Barwon Racing, Irish Laurels from Carrick Park. The second round produced some exceptional racing down at Cork on Saturday. And of course, we have the semi-finals of the Time Greyhound Nutrition Juvenile Derby to speak of from Shelbourne Park. We are left with a wonderful final in that classic. But we'll get straight into it. Tommy Lyons, you were in Carrick Park the other evening. You saw Tavern Bolt winning for the seventh time in a row. He is now, I dare say, going to be favoured to win the Laurels. He's certainly favoured with the sponsors. And I suppose it's fully justified. 7 on the bounce, 27.99. Easy as you like.
Yeah, the only thing that surprised me was that the sectional wasn't quicker than 3:22. It looked quicker. It was a perfect performance. It just flew out and dominated. And Glengar Martha ran a monster race in second place, an absolute monster race. And she's actually a danger in any heat. Um, she can just keep qualifying, and she looks a type that will because of her style of running. But like this is a perfect performance from Tavern Bolt. He could do little more. 27.99, and he only wins by half a length. Like Barry and I talked about this before the competition started. I'm just thinking, how 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 difficult it would be to go through the A1 competition, the Casco Derby unbeaten, and then try continue right through a Laurel straight away, without a break. He's obviously seriously good, but it's still going to be a test. It's going to get a little bit more difficult for him. That's what I think. Like he's a pup. He's an October pup. Like he is the real deal in terms of early pace and time. He's made for Curraheen Park. But it's just going to get that little bit tougher.
Yeah, he wasn't even the fastest in his litter until recently. Yeah, Declan, he's up there challenging now with Ballinakillalf. We'll get to Ballinakillalf a little bit later on, but he's showing serious early speed. He caught my eye not in his very early starts, but I thought he ran very well in one or two of the rounds of the Irish Sprint Cup when not getting his starting right, but showing loads of pace, Declan. And here he is now, 7 on the bounce. And if you look at his sectionals, he's just getting sharper and sharper. Just a thorough professional, it seems.
He actually reminded me of his star, Pastana. That's how good it was. It was great. I agree with Tommy. The second one. I mean, that is some we've seen her and so she's very very good. Five probably a tiny bit short for her, but I mean she's only beaten half length in incredible time. You know what I mean? Yeah, first and second.
It's hard to believe. Like they're actually both still puppies, Declan. Like they're both
That's
Octobers.
correct.
It's amazing
Correct,
to consider.
yeah, it is. Yeah, but they have a bit of experience. They have a bit of experience. You know what I mean? That rules out the kind of puppyish about them. You know what I mean? I always look at their experience rather than their age.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
if he keeps coming out like that, funny enough, I thought he's kind of made a different kind of dog who's a steady improver. The kind Graham does very very well with as well. Was very impressed with him as well. You know,
His height trend, yeah, he showed
yeah,
great early speed as
high
well.
trend.
Yeah, he's another
He had
dog. They
fun
went
there
down
too
the
and kept going.
they
Yeah,
went down the sprinting route with him as well. He raced in Dundalk. It's obviously a route they've taken in the past. Did did Riverside Oscar was it Riverside Oscar Tommy that won the sprint in Dundalk, and then did he win the? I don't think it was the Laurels he won. He won the valuable. Was it the valuable fight? The 10 grand stake in Cork? What?
I can't remember Saturday night. Never
Yeah,
mind. We're going
that's
back
fair
that
enough.
far.
Yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat. Let's get back to Tavern Bolt. Here he is, 7 from 7. Like obviously things are going to get a bit hotter from here on in. We'll be speaking about some of his rivals, Tommy. But I suppose the most impressive thing is the 318, 323, 2322, 1587 the other night. That would suggest that he's really putting it in down the back straight as well.
Like everything about it is incredible at the run, right? Everything about it, every section stacks up, and yet he's only a length ahead of Glengar Martin coming out of the first second bend. He's those sections are phenomenal. I mean, you think there were greyhounds the other night that did 28:15, 28:12, 28:19, doing 16:08 and 16:09. He's doing 15:87. It's absolutely motor, and yet somehow Glengar Martin isn't that far off, and she's doing huge stuff as well. Now, obviously, it's going to get tougher for her because there'll be more early pace around her, and she'll struggle to get that position out of the bends. But like he is shown remarkable early pace.
Yeah,
He
and,
really
and
is. I mean, it's like the lads that clock in Curraheen Park were wowed by the 1587.
And to only win by a half length is sort of a testament to how well the bitch ran in second spot. Bouncing Lad was also prominent into the opening corner. He's a nice dog. He's shown loads of early speed at present. Obviously, he's on the outside of Glengar Martha in the opening corner, but just behind Jack Tavern Bolt, only a length or so behind him at that point. He emerges third and remains there. They were the three qualifiers. This really was an example of how important it is to get loose around Currageen Park, because nothing was touched in the race, and yet down the back straight they were absolutely strung out, Tommy.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. But you know what, Jack? What impressive? Maybe the most impressive thing about Jack Tavern Bolt is the way, like, trap five could potentially have been tricky. You know, he's coming from 3-2, 3-2, 3 in his last five runs. He goes out to trap five and has to do it all a somewhat difficult way in terms of clearing greyhounds. No matter what it is, if you only lose half a length early and you do a 3:26, you could potentially be in trouble. That's what it's like in Currageen Park with the early pace that's involved in the Laurels. So, like, thankfully it was a clean race again, and that's what we're looking for. And you know what, it was an exciting race, even despite the fact that it was 27.99. It's hard to believe it was only half length. You know, hard to believe for you, particularly. You don't believe in these sub 28-second runs. They're uh, they're all over the place at the moment.
Here we go. We've had plenty of Cork in the last few years. Don't be talking about that. Declan, just given the fact that he did run through the A1 competition, it just highlights the importance it is to give these dogs a chance of getting to know a track. You know, Cork is not what you'd call straightforward. You know, obviously it helps when you're out in the bunny like Jack Tavern Bolt is most nights, but it's really standing to him, the fact that he went through that A1 competition. Yes, he went unbeaten through it, and it's a lot to ask him to go unbeaten through that competition and then go on and win a Laurels, but it's really standing to him.
It is, of course, and I think any track, you know, it is on the track before the main thing begins. That is essential, and we've seen so many great dogs out in the first round and so many competitions. Simply, I often think just for that, sometimes they haven't raced for 3 months, or they certainly haven't raced at that track. And even in the first round, the standard is, you see, we're not selling the dogs in England anymore, anything like the level that we used to. And the standard is, if you're not on the ball in the first round, you're gone. It is that simple. But I, an exception. I know there's a long way to go in this competition and in his career, but you have to say some dogs. And he looks very, very good. As I said, he reminded me of Bastana on Saturday. And that's, you know,
yeah.
Really
that's the highest praise. That really is the highest praise. Of course, New Win Madam is very closely related to New Win Taylor. You know, I think she's the dam. She was a sister to New Win. She's a sister to New Win Taylor. So, you know, for sure. it's probably bringing it back to that one derby where, as you say, worlds collided.
Yeah.
Go ahead, funny, he wouldn't even have been in the Laurels or in the Casco, sorry, if he had qualified for the final of the sprint in Dundalk. He more than likely wouldn't have run. I mean, he could have, because I think the final was on a Tuesday, and he could technically have run, but he probably wouldn't have been in the Casco and wouldn't have picked up all that experience of Currageen Park.
He may well have gone to the Juvenile Derby had not run the Casco.
Yeah,
because the Casco ran into the Juvenile Derby, which, you know, and these are the moments, these are the things that can happen. And as a result, he's now just looking at Barwon Racing's Laurels prices. 130 Jack Tavern Bolt, just ahead of Carrick Aldo, who we'll get to in a moment. Rathdown Molly, Glengar Martha is now 15-2. I think that's a bit of an overreaction, just given the early speed that's in the competition. She's not always going to be turning close second. A high trend at 12, Easy Razzle, Grouchos Vic, Radical Hero, Droopy's Beglin, Clonor Rocco. We'll get to some of those names now in a moment. Outside of Jack Tavern Bolt, anything in particular that caught your eye, Declan? You've mentioned high trend. Anything else?
Well, I think that the Carrick dog that you mentioned there spanned and kicked on, you know, 2019. Like, a lot of them are you know, still improving. And I tell you what caught the eye, I can't see winning it out, is the Millridge Bryce one. I mean, to pick up Ballymun Boy, who was a serious dog, the way she did it, that was a tremendous run. Now, she's not going to win the Barwon Racing Laurels, I would think.
Yeah, he's very, very strong, as we saw earlier in the year, running up the Shelbourne Open 600 behind Balnabola Ed. Let's go to Carrick Aldo. Tommy, funny enough, I was actually a fraction disappointed with him, just given how well he ran in the opening round. It was a thoroughly professional display, but it just looked like a dog that was going, do you know what? I got this in hand now. You know, I'm in third gear, maybe close to fourth gear. I think I'll save my best for a couple of weeks down the line. He didn't fly out. He showed great early speed again. Took it up just before the opening corner. It helped that the likes of Halo and Disco Pants didn't get their start. Kilbarry Travel was the dog that went up fastest with a 3:26, but Carrick Aldo soon got racing. And off the start, to post a 3:27 is actually quite impressive. 16:08, comes home in 12:11, 28:19. Very professional for David Murray's charge and Thomas Glynn, who later had a double Thomas actually. He's 3 lengths clear in the early in the back straight and goes on to win pretty comfortably, as I said, in 28:19. I suppose it's just a box ticking exercise. He's gone another round, Tommy. I still think there's a massive, massive run in him.
Yeah, I think you're missing something there, Ian, with him. There's a few things I loved about the performance. First of all, he charged the traps. He went a bit early without hitting him hard.
Didn't see that.
He went, yeah. It's not on the video either. Funnily enough, well, it's very hard to see it anyway. I was like where I was standing in the stands was close to the boxes, and I was concentrating on him obviously just to see what he might do, expecting something a bit special. He went first, mistimed it, came back, went very slightly stumbled. Difficult to see again in the video. Very slightly stumbled coming out of the boxes. Just lost a bit of momentum. He actually showed phenomenal pace to get around. He to my mind, it was a sub 28-second run in terms of in all bar the clock itself because he did enough wrong at that stage. What I really loved about the performance was that Trouble, who was actually there was a bit of a gamble on Trouble without the favourite and nicely landed as well. Trouble was closing down to third bend. You think this could get close, but I just loved Barry and I both commented as we were watching together on Saturday night that you'd love the way Carrick Aldo strode out to the line.
Yeah,
absolutely
no,
love it.
He's still striding on the line and into the escape, it seems.
And that's only his third 5.25 competitive 5.25 ever. And like as I said, you'd have to see it. I was even talking to connections after the race, and I think they might have spotted because depending on where they were standing as well, watching us. And I think David obviously would have been inside in the track, and I'm not sure where Thomas was, but he just seemed to charge it a little bit, get back, and just caught marginally, just tiny little fractions off kilter as the box is open. So I think it was a monster run again. Now, obviously, I have voiced concerns about being drawn effectively wide every night. It's going to make it difficult in Curryham Park. And if you get a dog like Jack Tavern Bolt, if he gets into trap 1 or trap 2, maybe, or in a final, and he runs the bend the way he runs the bend, you're going to lose a bit. At the moment, it's not showing up that you're going to lose a bit because actually Carrick Aldo runs hard around the first 2 bends, even though he is wide, but you're still going to be giving away a little bit of ground. So something like a Jack Tavern Bolt will be up inside him, and it'll be interesting then to see what sort of test it is of Carrick Aldo. But I still harbour hope that this is something very special over 5.25 Carrick Aldo. I really do.
So do I. Declan, Tommy mentioned there that he stays wide. The other night, he actually did run a lovely line. Like, even if there had been a little bother on his inside, he's going around it. He stays that middle line, but it's not one of those drifty off lines. Like, he's just staying a true line, and he really does seem to accelerate around that opening bend.
He is quite professional. Yeah, I like I said, I wasn't aware that the makes the performance all the more meritorious. But once he in front around that first bend, he's a serious dog. There's no doubt about it. I'll fast, and then he's going to be in trouble. But that hopefully was a one-off,
Yeah, Trouble ran well in second spot. He was aided the fact that Fate Point Jet sort of just was forced to sort of edge off a little bit. He was a close third into the opening corner and got bumped at that point. Kilbarry Travel was also balked at that point when prominent. Thereafter, nothing else really landed a blow. Trouble, Carrick, Kilbarry Travel in second and third, but the Carrick Aldo is most certainly the dog to take out of the race. Declan 12:11 home is good without being sensational, but like it just goes to show he's running right to the line.
He is, and David's dogs are flying at the moment as well. So it's all good. Yeah, he's a serious player in this.
I'll let you talk first about Millridge Bryce here, Declan, and Ballymun Boy got absolutely rocketed from traps in Heat 3, straight to the fence. I didn't know he was that bad for the fence, but I suppose when they get room and off that start, it sort of nearly heightens it. 15.87 off at 3:22. That's absolutely sensational running. But he fell into an absolute hole, Ballymun Boy. Like, we're talking about 12.11s, 12.12s home. This fella did 12.48 home, Ballymun Boy. Like, he's absolutely walking home. My guesstimate, sort of, I have Millridge Bryce 5 lengths down at the sectional mark, give or take a spot or two, is that he's doing about a 12:03 home, which is no surprise. But I suppose the key to him was Swords Rex was sadly a non-runner. He split his web in the opening round. It was a pretty bad split, so he'll be out for a couple of weeks, you'd imagine, while they nurse that and try and get back to perfect nick. Millridge Bryce, as a result, had a bit more space on the inside, was allowed turn second. He's 5 lengths back into the third bend and still wins pretty comfortably by a length. It was a power pack display, 28-15. Fine run by the winner. And you got to say, a fine run certainly by the runner-up to the final bend. Obviously, he did sort of fade badly, but he's a dog that if you have a Jack Tavern Bolt, you don't want to be in 3 with Ballymunboy in 4.
First and second do come very well out of it, but I wondering what the Millbank one was doing in this, because to me she's a 600-yard one all day long, class display, and to pick him off the way she got, he's a serious dog, Ballymunboy, no doubt.
Bryce is a dog. He's 76 pounds, by the way.
Oh, sorry, yeah, but I mean, we've seen Ballymunboy in Shelbourne, and it takes a good one to beat him, and he's still learning, but maybe something happened to him. All right, I'd say there could be something happened to him, but you've got to be with the winner. Very, very impressive. As you're saying, what impressed you? Well, what impressed was the Millridge run. It was very, very good. It was a great performance.
Yeah, Tommy, you'd have to question if Ballymunboy, maybe there was a touch of cramp or something there, because like he has 29.56 for 550 yards in Shelburne Park. You know, he's 5 clears the third bend in Laurels, and he gets picked up.
Yeah, it might be underestimating the winner a little bit. If you go back,
but I'm just going whatever about the winner. I'm just talking the 12:48. You know, that's 6 lengths behind the dogs. You know.
Yeah, but he did phenomenal early stuff. That's bound to take a toll as well. I mean, he absolutely flew from traps. And clear and did the 87 down to the section near the third bend. I mean, that's huge running. But if you go back to the winner, go back to its run over 525 in Carrick Park, May 20th. Have a look at that. Have a look at that run if you get a chance. The video of that. He's beaten a short head by a dog called the Other Kobe. And
it's not a bad line for him.
It's like a carbon copy of that run there the other night, except for he doesn't get up. The pace he is showing, he actually is. Do you know what? Do you know what I came away thinking the other night, and I didn't think I would be thinking it beforehand, but he actually is a dog that could win a Laurels if he can hang around. If he can hang around and qualify, right? Like, it's all going to be down to the makeup of the race in the final. It's going to be down to the makeup. That's how tight it is with the Laurels. Okay, that's quite standard when dogs can do, you know, sub 28-second runs and whatever else. It's going to be down to the makeup of the race, and it's not like he's not a dog that's going to need loads of luck, because he can do those sort of runs. He can do close to that. I mean, he's beaten a length by Ballinaball 8 over 600 yards. Then he 2 runs later, he's over 525 in Carrick Park. He's also a very versatile dog. He's won from every trap. I was asking Don O'Man the other night, what's his trap? He thinks trap 1. He's trap 1 the other night. He comes out middle, steers a middle course nearly everywhere. Middle to wide, I'd say, down the back, and middle coming home again. Okay, he's catching a dog in front, so he's probably going to have to switch outside anyway. But he's not a railer. The night he came from trap, he won in trap 6. He did come up the inside because dogs moved off. But I think he's because he's been around so long, and you know, he hasn't made a huge impact in terms of winning a massive stake or a classic or whatever. And he has a lot of racing done. He has 50 something races done. I kind of had brushed him aside and went down, and he's no chance. But actually, do you know what? If he can just hang around, honestly, if he can hang around to a final, there could be a case to be made for him.
Yeah, I'm just looking through his record here. Now 10, 11. I reckon he's had 11 starts from Trap 1. That was his second win from Trap 1.
Second win only.
And the previous win from Trap 1 came at Curryheen, over 525 yards.
And he also, in Trap 1 the night, he got beaten a short head by the other Kobe. Actually, if you can play that in the background there for yourself, it's nearly a carbon copy of what happened the other night. If you watch, even from the third bend home, the ground he's making up is serious. The way he's traveling around from third bend home.
Go ahead, Declan.
Yeah, he's a very strong dog. You know, I mean, I don't think the trap really bothers him. You know what I mean? He isn't a lightning fast breaker anyway. But he very quickly, and he can go out, he can go in, whichever he needs to do. You know, so he's a lot going for sure. Yeah,
it's funny, like you sort of look back and he was any sort of price in the final of the Shelbourne Open 600. You'd have to say in what we've seen since, it upgrades the performance of Ballinabula Ed. Like Ballinabula Ed had to come from behind him, to get to the front, and then he's sort of rallying, and Ed holds him by a length. But it's a hell of a run when you think about it. He was 28-1 in the final of the Shelbourne Open 600, and if I told you he was going to take a flyer and lead around the opening corner, you might have taken a bit of that 28-1 in hindsight. Yeah, Millridge Bryce, a tremendous run. Ballymun Boy can certainly stay better. Drewby's Rocker was third, Declan.
Sorry, Ian, the interesting thing about that run was, I was only watching that race again recently. Not only did the Ballinabula Ed pick him up, but he came back at him.
Yeah.
Making ground the Ballinabula Ed going to the line. So that was a powerful display. I agree with you, how he's 28. Absolutely. Yeah, no, he'd be some better without a favourite, all right, that's for sure.
Well, it seems the Cork bookmakers have copped on to us. He was only 6-4 the other evening, albeit in one of the weaker heats. And Ballymarquispa just doesn't look herself. She's gonna need to find her old form. She's gone out of the competition. It'll be interesting to see where she goes, whether they step her up and trip. Drewby's Rocker was third, Tommy, from an outside draw. He faced a tough test. Actually showed plenty of pace down the back straight to qualify. We'll move on. Anything else to add?
No, he kind of edged in early as you'd expect, and actually ran a fine race to qualify, right?
All right, let's go back to the opening heat, and we'll talk through the heats that we missed out on. Declan, a great friend of ours, Rathdown Molly, was the winner of the opening heat. Tommy gave her the big talk up last week. I'm not sure if he got the price he wanted to, but I'll tell you one thing: whatever price you took about it, it was looking very generous early. 6-4 favourite, bang, away and gone. Thank you very much.
Yeah, she's very, very tidy and polished performance. She's very, very. She probably has to hit the lid at this level against these, but she will, and she does like the. Definitely, yeah. She was a good bet Saturday, all right, no question about it.
Mary and Skippy aren't great for the travelling. They don't like travelling too much. I think it was a stretch to get her to go to Carrick Park with the bitch, but I think they're happy.
It does find his way home. The first night. So anyway, there you go.
You should just follow signs for Dublin. There's a few of them up that road.
Oh yes, yeah.
Tommy, you were sweet on her. You were insisting that she ran a big race in defeat in the opening round, and she certainly did. I was actually just shocked somewhat that Bonkers and Yonkers was favoured to beat her, because I thought we were all expecting Rathdown Molly to lead around the corner.
Yeah, I was too. Bonkers and Yonkers. Now there was talk that it might have just had a little bit of a hold up between the first and second round, so there's a little bit of negativity around it. Just a bit of concern that maybe would he be able to run to his best ability. Looking seriously, obviously, he wouldn't be allowed to run if it was. It was just something very small, but it was enough to kind of to cast a concern. Now, I didn't know that at the time. I got a few quid on at 2-1, not a lot of money, but just a few quid on at 2-1 on Rathdown Molly. I was just happy that I was trying to explain to do a couple of lads that before the race that I'd expect Rathdown Molly to lead Bonkers and Yonkers, and I wouldn't expect much to be catching her. And actually, it's funny. I was chatting to Skippy the other night, and he was saying that like she's not really a breaker. It's not really her thing. Do you know what I mean? She has early pace, obviously. Yeah, she has early pace, obviously, but actually, she did a 16:08 or 16:09, was it? It wasn't massive.
She's doing a 12:03 home, which is around what we thought Millridge Bryce was doing, which sort of caught me off guard now, because I would have had her as an early pacer who would coast home rather than flying home. 12:03 home off of 16:09, like that's serious running.
It certainly is. It certainly is, and I would expect her to get a little bit sharper. I know Skip is saying that she's probably not a natural breaker maybe or whatever else, but I would expect her to get a little bit sharper too. That was only her second ever run around Curraheen Park. I mean, I feel genuinely the reason that Bonkers and Yonkers beat the previous week is purely down to a lack of a run at the track. Competitive run at Curraheen Park is extremely important, just to learn a bit about it. You need a real sharpness too to get it around, because it's not very forgiving at the top levels in Curraheen Park. There's no forgiveness in it. If you miss a kick, you're going to get yourself in all sorts of trouble. So Bonkers and Yonkers actually ran a super race in defeat in round one, and he is a very good dog. It just didn't happen for whatever reason the other night. As I said, there might have been something just something very small ailing him, and that was enough to kind of to end his Laurels campaign. But Rathdown Molly was effectively different grade in that once she led.
Yeah. Declan, she's 15-2 third choice, joint third in the market alongside Glengar Martha. I suppose she's deserving of that. Like, she's proven now at the highest level, given her recent sprint form, the fact that she was in a Gold Cup final earlier in the year. Looking back to her puppy form, she's very much a proven performer.
Yeah, to be honest, I agree with Skippy. To me, she's a 5-2-5.
Hmm.
I was delighted for all concerned that she was going to be favoured in the, which is brilliant. But to me, she's very much a 5-2-5 runner. And that showed that as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. And the proof's in the pudding. Rural Taylor ran a fine race in the Feast. Declan, he didn't get a good start, but he showed loads of pace down the back straight, moved second and halfway, and kept the leader honest. He was never going to catch her, and he ends up being beaten 5 lengths. But I thought it was a good run. I think there's better from him. He's actually impressed me in recent times. He seems to have taken the step a little bit later than we were expecting, because he showed so much promise in his early starts around Clonmel, but it's taken a little bit longer for it to come.
That can happen. That can happen. But that was once Rathdown Molly led, and the way she stays on, as I said, and the way she runs, he was as good as he's going to be, and he was a good second. I think there's still improvement in him.
Yeah, and Derek Bowie back in third for Michael Meade, one of the great gentlemen of the sport. Derek Bowie was prominent early, was second to halfway, and was picked up to remain third and qualified another 5 lengths back. He was 20-1. I'm sure he'll be an even bigger price next weekend. But Rathdown Molly certainly the one to take out of the opening heat. Onto the second heat, Clonor Rocco. Didn't fly home or anything like it, Tommy, but did what was needed. Showed good early speed on the outside. I'm quite a fan of this dog. I really like him. I just think he's a great attitude. A Radical Hero broke well, but couldn't handle Clonor Rocco into the opening corner. He was second off the opening bend and stayed on to finish in that position. But Clonor Rocco got to the front. As I said, drifts off the last bend, maybe a sign of a dog that's tiring a little bit. 12:29, 16:24. His sectionals are nothing outstanding. His time 28:53 is one of the slower heat times, but you still have to like the way he did it.
Yeah, you would. Caught me a little bit by surprise too. The clock. Sometimes it surprises me. More often than not, it surprises me when the clock is very fast. Now, I was surprised that this was 28:53, but he did give a lot of ground away. My God, he goes wide at that last bend. He gives an awful lot away, and I think in his case, sometimes obviously dogs get swing a bit wide. They're coursing the hair, but this is different. This looked like a tiring, kind of swing wide. Because he went so wide, so close to the bend, rather than taking a line off the bend, a line out to the outside. This was a funny race. I actually thought the top was a good thing in this move too soon after his run the previous day. I thought everything about the race would suit it. I thought the 2 dog might edge off right a little bit, the Bogger Rambo just a little bit. I thought the top would move off a little bit as well, but would have enough early pace. They seem to miss it a little bit now. I don't think there was anything in terms. There was a bit of noise, a bit of barking, but there was no charging of traps or anything like that. So I mean, I don't know what to make of the race. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know why it was 28:53. I just would think that maybe, well, the winner's definitely capable of better. I'm just a little bit confused by the performance and the clock, because he did so much right up to the last bend, but whether there was something ailing him or whether he was just getting tired or what, that wide, if you watch that wide swing at the last bend, it's marked, you know what I mean?
And it is marked, no question about it. And moved too soon, in fairness to him, was second into the opening, or disputing second into the opening corner, just edging off slightly. But Radical Hero cut him off then at that point, and he sort of checks out further wide. And as a result, Bogger Rambo was left third, and that's where he was to remain behind Radical Hero and the aforementioned Clonor Rocco. Clonor Rocco, Declan, he was a very, very it was a good dog for punters in Shelbourne Park not so long ago. Won 4 and a bounce on Saturday nights, and that's very, very hard to do. And look at his prices. The first night he won in 28.68 at 2-1. The following week, 28.41, 5-2. Came back a week later, 28, or the next run, should I say, 2-3 weeks later, at 28.20 at 10-1. And then on the 15th of July, 5-2, 28.21. He was then thrown in the deep end of the Derby, ran very well behind the laddie da in the opening round. That's form stacks up. Got knocked out the second round, but won his first round. He's in the plate before getting knocked out in the second round. He's a dog that's been competing at a very high level. But those 4 weeks in particular at Shelbourne Park, he sort of showed us what he was capable of doing. He was taking on hotter company each night, and each night he was stepping up, showing great early speed from the outside.
Shelbourne suits wide dogs, you know what I mean? Now, I thought on Saturday completely missed the kick. Early. I thought it was his early speed that really, okay, there may be a bit of shunting on. He had to be quick. After he missed the kick, he had to be quick, and he was. And he got. I agree with Tommy that the time is a bit hard to understand. Maybe it's just the wide running took maybe 20 spots over or something. I'm not sure. But I wouldn't worry. Sometimes don't worry too much about performance. From where he started.
I tend to agree with you there. Worry more about the performance than the actual time. As you say yourself, if he missed a kick, like he's doing a 334, like a dog like him is capable of a 324. So that's 10 spots. And then another 20 spots for running wide and maybe tiring up a little bit. And all of a sudden you take 30 spots off and he's doing 28-20. Nothing wrong with it. We'll move on. We spoke about Millridge Bryce. We've spoken about Carrick Aldo. Let's move on to Carrick Fergie. Speaking of Carrick Aldo, Carrick Fergie was to complete a double for Thomas Glynn in Heat 6. This one trained by Robert Gleeson and not Thomas, not David Murray. Carrick Fergie, we spoke about him at length last week, Tommy. We said there was a run coming. And it came. He's still not showing the early speed he's going to need to win a Laurels or anything like it. He's only fifth into the opening corner. But again, he shows that liking for the fence, edging across, finds himself on the fence. And once doing so, doesn't move off it. He has loads of pace down the back straight, took it up between the last two bends, wins in 28-34, picking up Burgess Supreme, who the previous week from Trap 1 definitely did edge off and left that gap up the fence. And Carrick Fergie was there to capitalise.
Yeah, a good performance by the front three. I think Carrick Fergie is a very fast dog and actually showed great determination. He was showing pace down to third bend to challenge, can get tight, held his own, ran on strongly to beat a Produce Stakes winner. You know, actually Easy Razzle ran some race to qualify.
Yeah, huge race.
I thought
she looked goosed off the opening corner.
I actually thought she was a terrible favourite from the draw, because she's not really an early pacer. Yes, she showed it the previous week a bit of early pace, but her strongest asset is her power. And I just thought, I was wondering where she'd get a run from. I actually expected Road Exile to break a bit better. I actually thought Road Exile could play a part in the race, to be honest about it. He's just not flashing out. He's just not flashing out and getting away like he can. I mean, he has one line of form above in Dundalk that would make him nearly a certainty to lead that company, that heat the other night. It just wasn't happening for him last couple of weeks. I just thought Easy Razzle actually ran a super race and the most important thing about that race is we got confirmation that it's Millridge Levi. Barry asked the question the other night. Connections.
That's important.
But no, I think Carrick Fergie's a very fast dog. Actually, it's funny. I was talking to Thomas Glynn after Carrick Aldo won, and he was before he both in race actually. Sorry, and he just spoke very highly about Carrick Fergie, very highly about him. Like, you're kind of going, you got Carrick Aldo there, yeah, but Carrick Fergie's very fast. No, you got Carrick Aldo there. You know, it was kind of don't forget this dog. He can run too.
6-1. I'm heartbroken that I allowed that sit as it was. Declan, we've always known that Carrick Fergie was very fast. Like, you win the Champion Open unraced, and we've seen how well that competition has worked out this year. 6-1 seems a very big price. Yes, he was going to be off the pace, but once he gets to that fence, he can really run.
He can, yeah. I understand the price, because there may be any outstanding early pace in the race, looking at the field before, but he does slow enough away, you know, and that is a problem. And Muncie inside, so that's kind of in 5-2-5 in Corraheen, you know, that you're up against it. He's a very good dog. I'm not sure this is his competition, but they have a lot to look forward to. Thomas is quite well with that.
Yeah. Behind him, Burgess Supreme. He's a dog with the early speed to certainly play a part in the coming weeks, be it as a winner or as a dog that can just get in the way of some of the real favourites in the competition. But you know, he is a classic winner himself, and he can certainly play a part. Declan, he's just not one you'd like to be seeing on your inside.
Yeah, he's good and he's consistent, and yeah, he's a good dog. The other one did get a good run at him, which is important, you know. But I actually agree with Tommy there. The first three all ran very well.
Yeah, Easy Razzle back in third spot. She's going to need to find her trapping boots, no question. But she has a big engine. Always been a fan. Moving on to Heat 7, the penultimate heat of the round. Declan, you referred to him earlier on. High Trend. He's just a dog that, while the clocks weren't brilliant, they were good. You know, he does a 325, 16, 11, 12, 12 home. Look, professional as you like. Popped out, edged onto the fence, and once getting there, it was all pretty much plain sailing.
It was a very polished. I was very very impressed with him, and he's improving. He's one of the Graham does well to like Tavern dog who was brilliant, but he's very good also with dogs like this that just go up day one, progressing to keep progressing. And I thought it was a very very good performance. But you knew straight away that he was going to win, and I thought it was a very good run.
Yeah, Tommy High Trend, away and gone. Looked every inch at Curryheen Park dog the other night.
Yeah, kind of a bit annoyed at myself. I let this one go. Kind of fancied that this would lead. It's on the right side of Glory Baz as well. I really like the performance for many reasons, but one of them, which is great and also a little bit of a concern, is you could hardly put a cigarette paper up between him and the rails the whole way around. I mean, so you're going to say you're going to have a little bit of concern if he gets drawn in the wrong box, later in the competition or whatever. But like the early pace, you say this, the clocks. You're right. Like the clocks aren't quite matching up, but you know what? He's definitely on the up. Um, I'd be giving him serious consideration as well to win the competition. He's yet another dog in that we're talking about. Went up to Dundalk. He was actually second to Carrick Aldo in the sprint, actually, at one stage, second beating 2.5 lengths behind Carrick Aldo with very little experience, very, very little experience. He is going the right way, and I just loved the way he came out of boxes. It kind of looked like a no nonsense type of performance, like there was never a doubt that it gave you the impression that this was just going to happen. It was that professional. It was really really good. I love the
Yeah,
performance. Glory Baz ran a cracker. Got a for a dog I have down is not really a mad strong stayer. He got a nice bit of trouble at the first bend and ran well to get around that into second place. Showed pace, and then it just told a little bit late on, beating 6 lengths. I think that was a hell of a run.
yeah, he's a dog with lovely turn of early speed.
Yeah.
He suffered three defeats in a row now, but he did win his first six. And, it takes a fair dog to do that, no matter the company. Millridge Zarrow was third for Donny O'Mahony. He's another one to come up the road with Millridge Bryce.
Yeah, and yeah, ran very well. And actually, I don't know if we're going to get a chance to look through the heats actually for next week. We're going to look at the
We'll
quarterfinal
briefly
heats.
we'll briefly glance through them. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, it did run, but just this was just all about the early pace. They were gone in front effectively.
Yeah, you certainly were. Let's get on to the final heat because I watched this on the ground floor at Shelburne Park on Saturday night, and it seemed that half the stadium was shouting for him. I feared that some of the Grouchos people were in Shelburne rather than in Curraheen because they had Grouchos Duke running in the Juvenile Derby. Grouchos Vic was given the full eye treatment up the home straight by his obvious connections. This is a nice dog, Declan. We saw him in Shelburne Park. He showed promise in his first 5-5 at Shelburne. And then the following week came back into the 28-44. And you just left with the impression like, there's better to come from this fellow. He was a good winner in the opening round of the Laurels. And the other night, off a moderate start, showed good early speed to get himself into a position to enter the back straight in second spot. Like he's 2.5 lengths back at halfway behind Droopy's Beglin, who took charge on that opening corner and gets up late. He's absolutely stuck to the fence up the home straight. But I thought it was a very, very likable display by Groucho's Vic, and a display where you could say I could see him taking 2 or 3 lengths off that.
Yeah, Likewell is actually he wanted to win, and I mean he was persistent. He was very very persistent, and those are an awful lot of races. It was a good performance. Say he won it. I wouldn't say the hard way, but he was trying, and as you say, then the inside for the end. Yeah, it was a good performance.
While I have you, Declan, like Droopy's Beglin, we saw this fellow showing good early speed in the opening and to be picked up. Good early speed the other night again to be picked up. On the same night at Shelburne Park, his sister's running at a 5.75 at Shelburne Park, and she's bootless early, and she absolutely comes home like a train. It's mad how one litter can have
Oh
dogs
yeah,
blistering early and one that has massive stamina.
yeah, but they're both good.
Yeah,
You take either of that. You look at it, that for sure, yeah.
Tommy, Grouchos Vic. Hard not to like this dog.
Yeah, your obvious concern would be the first 25 yards, where they be positioned in hot races. But there's a few things I loved about the performance. One, that he showed enough early pace to get into second place, having not really flashed from traps. But also when he went for his run the first time down to third bend, he kind of get held up a little bit. It was a kind of a one of those. He didn't run into the back of the dog, but he kind of could see what was going to happen and kind of just hesitated and lost a little bit of ground. And the moment Drubby's Beglin drifted off, he quickened again into that gap and ran on strongly up the straight. Really nice performance. Not if you were a punter in Curry Park on Saturday night. If you're a bookmaker, it was a great performance because there were pounds, shillings, and pence on Drubby's Beglin.
The old red jacket. It really sucks the punters in Curraheen, doesn't it?
Oh my God, it does.
I'll tell you what, it's been a bit costly this Laurels.
Yeah, but it sure does. You're right. And I actually I thought he'd win. I had no interest in backing him, but I did think Drubby's Beglin would win. I thought everything was the makeup of the race was absolutely perfect. In fairness, and it took a fair performance. Like 28-33, and you're beating 3/4 late, you're doing 28-38. It's not He's not doing a lot wrong, Drubby's Beglin. The winner, I would take a few lengths off that clock.
Yeah. No, I liked it
And
a lot.
actually, funny enough, you're talking about the connections. The connections were in Curraheen Park previous week because they were giving the eye to the Groucho dogs in Dublin and in Curraheen Park.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they went to the wrong venue because they were desperately lucky in Shelburne. We'll talk about that in a few moments. There's something that I don't often use, but there is something that reminds me of a sire, Ballymac Vic, about Groucho's Vic. Just his attitude and the way he goes about things, obviously the colouring and the size of him and everything. He was a tenacious dog, Ballymac Vic. He was brilliant on the bunny, but when he was behind, he never gave in. He was a tough battler and just a lot to like about
Yeah.
him. And I think Groucho's Vic
Yeah.
has similar enough qualities. It's only his seventh start the other night. He's got 3 wins and without doing things 100% right yet. Like he's won 3 races. And if he does find his trapping boots, just don't be surprised if this fellow sort of raises an eyebrow or two. Let's take a look at the quarterfinals. Sorry, just want to mention their role model was third. She needs to get off the front. She's after not missing the kick, but she didn't get to the front in either round to date. She can still play a part in a night, but she'll need to take a flyer. There's no question about that. Let's take a look at the quarterfinals. Just bear with me, just to open it up here. Professionalism as always. We have to mention while we're at it that Bart Leahy continued at Curraheen on the Friday night. From Saturday night now, it's going to be on the Saturday night, Tommy. Obviously, it means an awful lot to the people down there. So good performances again. Anything catch the eye?
No, look, to be honest about it, I'd find it difficult to point in the right direction. And there are a lot of good performances. No, like huge performances, which is good because it's supposed to be an A2 stake, and it's in memory of Bart, who was God rest the man, was a great character, a really
Yeah.
good character. Bring a smile to your face when you met him.
Sure, you couldn't help it. Miss Minnie
Yeah.
Holly set the standard for Tommy O'Donovan with a 28-39 run. But you get the impression that there's 5 or 6 dogs in the competition that could certainly do that run. And as it whittles down towards the closing stages, could get pretty tight. There's some nice types there. At the moment, it's sort of standing up to its sort of A1 mini open sort of a level. But just don't be surprised if something does at 28-20 in the later stages of the competition. Let's get into the quarterfinals of the Barwon Racing Irish Laurels. The opening heat, Beglin, Drubby's Beglin, Glory, Baz, Grouchos, Vic, Millridge, Zara, Burgess Supreme, Clonor Rocco. It's one of those heats, Tommy, where you could probably make realistic claims for most of them. They're all pretty similar type dogs. Drubby's Beglin, again, will no doubt attract plenty of support. Trap 1, early speed. He's going to need to show everything. He needs to get to the frontier because Glory Baz can go up well. Burgess Supreme will go up well, and Clonor Rocco will certainly go up well on the outside. Just a tricky enough contest.
Desperately difficult. Look at the early pace in it. 1, 2, 3, 5, even 6, and the 4 bitch who hasn't shown kind of in the 2 runs in the Laurels today. The real early pace. She has a 3:29 sectional, which is right up there. So, I actually can't even tell you for certain what will go off favourite. Were fingers burnt enough on Saturday night to leave Drubby's Beglin alone? I kind of suggest they probably were.
I'd say they'll make him favourite again, just from the draw. I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna take a chance there with Groucho's Vic. I just think his ceiling is that a bit higher than the remainder. Declan, any thoughts on the opening heat?
Burgess, I think, has it always. It's a very, very open heat, as you said. if the one runs to best form, then it probably wins. But I would agree with Tommy. You'd be a little reluctant after last week. I think that the Burgess one is so consistent could just win.
He won a Project Stakes from Trap 5, Tommy.
Yeah, I look at he did show terrific early pace, but if there's terrific early pace top to bottom here, I would have a small bit of concern for Grouchos Vic that Glory Baz is in the race. There's a dog that is improving. Now it hasn't yet learned to trap really, fly out of boxes, but has lovely early pace. You think you've got Drubby's Beglin in there, who is a trapper. You've got Glory Baz, who can show electric early pace into the bend. Groucho's Vic, showed his pace into the bend the last day, having the first 25 yards being only okay. And I'd just be concerned if they're only okay, and I'm talking about only okay at Laurels level, at classic level. He could be in a bit of trouble. I find that a really difficult. I would want to oppose the top though, definitely.
Yeah, very
but
tough.
I find it difficult.
Clonor Rocco is the one dog that probably is guaranteed a bit of a clear passage on the outside. He could represent a little bit of value as well. On to the second heat: Millridge Bryce, Ballymun Boy, Jack Tavern Bolt, Trouble, Kilberry Travel, and Rural Taylor. We mentioned that you didn't want to be on the inside of Ballymun Boy. Jack Tavern Bolt isn't. You'll need to be taking the flyer. The two of them did 15.87 to the third bend of the night. They happen to sit side by side, but they won't clash, you would imagine. The Bolt should lead up Millridge Bryce. Is it as straightforward as the two of them going around first and second? And yeah, I dare say Jack Tavern Bolt should come out on top.
Yeah, I would think so, because Jack Tavern Bolt has shown an ability to also battle and come from behind. His performance in the previous round, the first round of Laurels, was impressive. Picking up move too soon, quite early in the race, actually earlier in the race than I would expect. It actually will help Millridge Bryce as well. Should 2 and 3 fly out, absolutely fly and go.
I think the best thing that could happen to Millridge Bryce is the two of them flying out, because that will allow him to turn prominently. And the odds are he'll probably finish second rather
if
than, if he turns close enough.
And if there's a bump between the pair, he might win it.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. I think we just beat Declan to the kick, because I know he was going to say that.
I think Jack Tavern can run for any box, frankly. Yeah. The kill off it's the same actually. I think Jack Tavern, the draw won't worry him, but there's a very fast dog in Ballymun. So it will be the two of them going up to the bend together. The Millridge one obviously will be picking up. But if Jack Tavern gets around the bend, it will just about do that should be enough.
3 votes for Jack Tavern Bolt to continue his winning sequence. On to Heat 3. One Rathdown Molly, Radical Hero, Carrick Fergie, Daring Bowie, Role Model, Carrick Aldo. Is it as simple as top and bottom for you, Tommy?
Possibly, yeah. Probably, yeah. I'm just looking for Carrick Aldo. Like we're nitpicking because the 334 in the first round became 327 the other night. Yeah, he did things wrong, so there's definitely a sub 320 there with Carrick Aldo. If he does that, he'll win. But Rathdown Molly is no mug, and she's the right side of Radical Hero, and and I don't think Carrick Fergie and Daring Bowie will compete early. Role Model has early pace, but just seems at the moment to have found her level for the moment at least. So she probably shouldn't, even though she does stay a little bit middle and did break reasonably well the other night. Probably shouldn't get in the way of Carrick Aldo. He should have surpassed her quite early. So it looks like a top and bottom. It'll be a good race because Rathdown Molly stays well as well. If she can turn around the second, even, it'll just be an interesting race. I'm just kind of half expecting that it'll be like a 27.80 or something out of Carrick Aldo one night.
Yeah, I suspect he'll win again. 613 would be my selection. Declan, what about yourself?
I think one, maybe.
You fancy one?
I think, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
On to the final heat, and High Trend is in 1, Drubby's Rocker, Glengar Martha, Bogger Rambo, Easy Razzle, and Bouncing Lad. Again, it's all pretty tight. High Trend certainly has the best of the draw on the fence, and if he pops out, he's going to find himself in a lovely position to perhaps turn the corner in front. But the two flying ladies, Glengar Martha and Easy Razzle, are showing loads of pace. Bouncing Lad is going to go fast on the outside. Bogger Rambo didn't repeat his opening round effort, but he has a 28-28 in his card, and Drubby's Rocker is back to a decent draw from the outside last time. You look at his like, even just the 5 runs that are in his card there, like, obviously a couple of them go back to November, but his last 2 runs were trap 6 and trap 4. Here he is now in trap 2 with a chance to perhaps sit in behind High Trend and hopefully hold those on his outside. It's very competitive, Declan, but just given the way you were talking, I'd suggest High Trend would be your selection.
Yeah, I with Tommy, some of the clocks and sections last week, and it can happen. thing. But you've got to be visually impressed. And I thought high trend, the way he popped out, polished. You know, he knew he's going to win from Mary. This is tougher, obviously. This is tougher, obviously, and some thousands. But I would think high trend, trap one will suit. I think he'd make all.
Tommy?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think maybe potentially because of the draw, Druby's Rocker is a little bit of a buffer between High Trend and Glengar Martha, and that's important because Glengar Martha is in stunning form. And if she gets a clear run in behind High Trend, she should be hard to hold. It'll be a good test of him, but he's definitely taken quite significant steps in the right direction, High Trend. So even if she did turn second, I'd be interested to see could he hold her, and I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Free bet, what wins the Laurels?
Probably Aldo.
Declan?
At this stage, you've got to go with Jack Tavern Bolt.
Okay, I'm going to stick with Aldo. I think he's guaranteed his draw every night. Obviously, trap six is going to be an issue if he gets to the final and there's absolute five speed merchants on his inside. But you know, there's a few equations to take into account. Like there's dogs moving out, moving in, whereas Carrick Aldo doesn't have to worry about that out in trap six.
It's
that's the only reason.
Yeah.
The good thing at the moment, Ian, is that it looks like it's going to be a really hot final. You know, you've got a lot of really good dogs there, and we need them to qualify. I wouldn't like to be saying back Jack Tavern Bolt or Carrick Aldo and they're 137-2 now. When come the final, you might get a bit of value based on, but my selection in the final will be more based on draw than anything else.
No, I tend to agree with you. Yeah, and they have been relatively spread out. You know, the bigger names have been spread out across the four heats. So there's every chance that, you know, if the draw goes well in the semi-finals and they all run to their expectations on Saturday night, that we will have a hot Laurels final come October 14th, an occasion not to be missed. Best of luck to all involved. And again, our thanks to Barwon Racing for their generous sponsorship. And of course, the friends and supporters of Cork Greyhound Racing who've done such a wonderful job to keep the Laurels going in recent times, Tommy. You know, given the fact that Barwon stepped in this year, you shouldn't forget that, you know, the foundations were built by the friends and supporters of Cork Greyhound Racing over the last few years.
Well, you know, like its future and maybe not its future, but its status certainly was in question or in doubt. You know, there for a while, and they stepped in and did a great job. And actually, getting Barwon involved and Barwon a great to sponsor, it's actually a fantastic next step. It's in what they've been doing because, you know, it's fine to ask the people to step in to try sponsor a stake, but like, you know, when you start going to that, well, where do you stop or when do you stop, if you know what I mean? So it was brilliant to fill that gap or to kind of get it over the hump a little bit, and actually even better, to be quite honest about it, to get Barwon involved.
Yeah, no, I agree. Declan, we'll kick on now because we're off to Shelbourne Park for the Time Greyhound Nutrition Juvenile Derby. Safe to say it's a hot one.
Very much, very much. Two tremendous semi-finals. Yeah. And the final is wow. It's that's going to take some winning. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll get to the trap draw in a moment, but as soon as I saw the trap draw, there was a case of hands across the eyes going, oh, you know, that's not exactly how we wanted to work out, but it's a wonderful final, which we will get to. Let's talk about the two semi-final winners, though, Declan. We'll start at the start because Highview Splash is a dog who won his debut in 28-33. Now, as somebody that's grown up watching the late Paddy Merriman and now Jerry Merriman's dogs, they always need that 2 to 3 races. They always improve. Like, you can always bet them nearly blind in their third or fourth race if they haven't won. Here he was, a dog doing 28-33 on debut for the Merrimans. You knew he was going to be quick. He only had 2 more starts before the start of this competition. And we saw the very best of him again the other night. Balnakill Alpha was the hot favourite. Didn't take a flyer, but showed his early speed, edged across, and just got enough of a bump on the bend to just cost him a little bit of valuable momentum. And when Highview Splash turned into the back straight, just a length off the leader, it was a case of curtains. This fellow showed outstanding pace to the third bend to take it up, eased on to win by 4.5 lengths. He'll be better for 550 yards, but at the moment he's a serious Juvenile Derby contender for the Merriman family.
He is, and of course, they basically grow up in Shelbourne. You know what I mean? Every child to do everything to do. So he like to pick up Balnakill Alpha halfway, basically. You know, that is whatever. But I mean, that is some performance, and he's getting better and better. Maybe could use, but it is a juvenile derby. Maybe could use a tiny bit more experience. The way he's racing it at the moment is outstanding, and he's one that doesn't have to lead. There's so many of them now. Front, you can forget about them. He certainly is one of those.
Yeah, he's certainly not. Like we can trace him back to, like going back to Choice Highway, Choice Girl, through Highview Horizon, Highview, Abbey, Highview Highway. Like we've seen them all running. They almost
Absolutely,
feel like part of the family for
fantastic.
those in Shelbourne Park. Yeah, it means a bit more.
Jerry win it, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. It'd be very, very popular. But look, there's 6 great finalists there, and they all have a chance. That's for sure.
Yeah, Tommy Balnakillaff didn't back up the 28-10 run from the previous week, but lost nothing in defeat. He showed tremendous early speed again, edging across, which is something that we didn't see him doing the previous week. Just got enough of a bump to cost up momentum. Highview Splash took advantage. I thought Droopy Zelda ran a big race with Johnny Lynn, and she flew into the third bend as well. Tommy, it was a competitive contest, but a very good winner.
Yeah, I fancy the winner because of the draw. Thinking that we talked about it here last week, thinking that he might lead Deadly Jet, and if he did that, he was going to be in a position to get a run at Balnakillaff. Even if Balnakillaff got a clear run, he was going to get a run at him, and then it was going to be race on. I think you'd love him to develop enough early pace to get into the bend with the best of them, because he broke as well as he's ever going to break the other night, and Balnakillaff showed all sorts of early pace, which of course Jack Tavern Bolt has as well. I mean, phenomenal stuff. Enough to get 3 parts of a length up on him maybe, and then hence the reason for the bit of trouble. But if Highview Splash is a proper derby dog for next year if he can continue to progress and just get that little bit more into the first bend, because watching from the last bend home, what he's doing to Droopy Zelda, he's leaving her standing, and she's running the race of her life. Like, she's run a super race down to the third bend. She's within probably two and a half lengths of the leader at the third bend. And you're talking about dogs that are, the Highview had already broken 28 seconds. Balnakillaff is we've been talking about him as a special greyhound for the last number of weeks. Like, she ran her heart out, but he was just power packed from the last bend home. I don't know what the sections were and whether they'd be reflected fully from the section at the third bend, but certainly from the last bend home, he was phenomenal. Now, again, highlighting how the depth of quality we have at the moment. Like, he can't be favoured in the final, despite that run, and despite the fact that he did 28.04 with not getting an entire solo. I mean, what would he have done if he hadn't got that trouble at the first bend?
Yeah, he's an amazingly fast dog. I had put it to you that off that 205 section, I think he'd have led good 95% of open race greyhounds into the opening corner, but just Balnakillaff is just that ridiculously sharp that you could take him on the outside. Like, he's still doing 15.97 to the third bend, the leader Highview Splash, because he is in front again at the sectional mark into the third bend. Anything doing sub 16 seconds, Declan, like, that's running.
It is. It's a credit to Bolton, because he actually broke best, and then Balnakillaff as such phenomenal early speed, and then they might have got into his way a little bit, but they both come out of it with tremendous credit. But Highview Splash, I mean, Tommy, but dogs are what they are. He hasn't got the electric early that Balnakillaff has, and not too many to be fair about it. But he's a very, very good greyhound, and he's getting better all the time. He would be better very well, yeah.
Yeah, no.
The point he was making, like, where do you meet those top 5%, Dean? You meet them in the derby. Anyway,
that's true. That's true. Yeah, unless Balnakillaff doesn't go down the derby route, which is possible.
Yeah, no. I know that. But I just think, no. The question though, to ask for next week, and it's an important one if you're going to have a bet next week's or an opinion on next week's final. Did Balnakillaff get enough trouble to be beaten 7.5 lengths?
I think he's a dog that very much has to be on the bunny. And that's just that. Like, he's going to be tying up when he's not in front. Like, if you look back last week, he does a 15.73. Like, the other night, he's a length back at the third bend, so he's doing a 16.03, shall we say? You know what I mean? Like, he's after losing 30 spots there. Like, he can go 4 or 5 lengths faster to the third bend than he did the other night, and that equates well. Like, it just, like, you'd expect Highview Splash to be five, maybe 6 lengths faster than them from the third bend home anyway.
That's not really the question I was kind of asking. Well, no, sorry. What I mean is, that's not what was in my head with the performance. Did he get enough of a bump? Would it have left a mark? Did you feel like looking at it left a little bit of a mark on him the other night, a bit of a bump, knocked a bit of stuffing out of him a little bit? And will that for next week? Maybe not. Maybe 100, he come out 100% and do 27-80 next Saturday night. But like, these are the questions I'd be asking myself as a punter, thinking ahead to next week. Do I want to back Ballinkill next week? I think he probably is positioned to win the race, but do I want to back him? I don't think I do.
I think the question I'd be asking more so is how can he overcome the draw? I wouldn't be too concerned about him producing his performance. I think he'll do it 28-10 run again if he's allowed to. But the fact that he's in 2 and short grippers in 1 is a major concern for me. We'll get to that in a moment. Droopy Zelda, Declan, she's going the right way. I've often said that I think the Pastanas do need those 8 or 10 races. This was race number 10 for her. You could certainly see her developing into an Oaks contender next year if she finds the trapping boots.
She's very good. She's very good, and she does break. She breaks well, and she has led up. So she's good, and she's getting better. Yeah, for sure.
Tommy, there's a higher ceiling with her, isn't there? She can definitely go better.
Oh, she can, but this was a savage run now at the same time. Even though she beat 4.5 lengths, she's beaten 4.5 lengths behind a dog who um got, obviously with the exception of a little bit of trouble the first bend, but was position A to produce his very best form, or something close to his very best so far. And he's an improving dog that's going to smash 27 or 28 seconds numerous times. He's already done it. He'd keep doing it. She ran her heart out, I think, and I think there's definitely more to come from her. What is she? She's October, so she's still quite young. She's only had the 8 runs, or 10 runs, sorry. You'd have to like her. I just love the fact that she was able to position herself so close in such hot company at the third bend. That was impressive to me.
Declan, we'll move to the second semi-final. Just the 3 that went out there. Deadly Jet, he was left with nowhere to go on the opening corner. Sing Along Dolly cut the nose off him. I felt sorry for him. If you actually pause it into the corner, Sing Along Dolly's pointed sort of direct left nearly into the corner, and Deadly Jet nowhere to go, forced to check off. And Miami King just didn't happen for him. I think he's a nice dog. I think he's one to keep an eye on going forward. Sing Along Dolly will improve as well. She's very lightly raced. That was only her 6th start the other night. But they're 3 nice dogs. Deadly Jet is certainly a dog who wants to be sort of trap 2 or 3. I think he's a real 550-yard greyhound going forward. Moving on to the second semi-final, Declan. I used the term earlier on. Reminds me of his sire. Droopy's flight line is increasingly reminding me of his sire. Certainly, it helped the other night that he's wearing the striped jacket of 6. That's probably not where he wants to be. But given the speed he showed and the line he showed into the opening corner before driving across, I'd say this dog could win from any box. I don't know how good he's going to be, but I'll tell you something. Like, even though he's done 28.02 and 28.13 in recent weeks, this run the other night was even better again. This is a special greyhound, I think, Declan.
Yes, he's been only beaten the once, I think, and I agree with you. Traps 6 races drawn that could actually suit him fine, because they're scrimmaging on the inside, I would think, so he's a very, very good dog, and a huge future, no doubt about it. He's exceptional.
The bitch in second, short grip, she's a sister to Grouchos Vic, obviously enough. I think she's very, very quick. I would have loved to have seen her get trap 3 in the final, so we can see exactly what she can do. You're not worried about that opening few yards where she's definitely going to move off, but she seems to have it everywhere. Like, she's good early speed, she's good down the back, and she's strong.
On the inside seat. That's. I mean, she came straight off the fence on Saturday, and didn't do her brother any favors, if you like. The two. And look, but she was very good. It's a top class performance, and was beaten by a dog for sure. Yeah. It's they're all in the mix really on Saturday. And as ever, the break and get the bend first will be a huge part of it. Which is very good.
Tommy, we keep referring back to the Dennis Linden Solicitors Open Unraced. It's produced some fast dogs in the past, but this year's final was off the scale.
Yeah, it certainly was. And this fella has just developed the type of early pace that I wasn't 100% certain. But of course, you shouldn't make a fold gallop. You shouldn't make too much of a deal about what a pup does in his first few races in terms of, pigeonholing him after that. He has turned into a dog having a fantastic early pace. He went from 218 on his first run in Shelbourne Park, 206, 205, 203. It's going the right direction. He's the type. Of course, the issue I'd have is because straight away I'd be saying to myself, God, that's a Laurels dog for next year. But of course, the Derby will come before that. And even if he's not a tremendously strong stayer, with the type of early pace he has and the class he has, you're going to have to say, geez, you're going to have to take a tilt at the Derby, aren't you? That's naturally what you're going to do with him. Now, maybe he'll develop and strengthen up and actually be strong over 550 next year. Who knows?
I would suggest this fellow's stronger than Ewan Taylor at this time in his career.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like, there's only a certain amount of stamina you need to win the Derby anymore. Like, it's about getting around that bend in front with exceptional early pace. I mean, what would he have done the other night? What clock would he have done the other night if he got a complete clear at the first bend?
Well, he's certainly taking the length off it again. Like, you're talking sub 27.90s. Like, that's just different gravy. And yet he's not even favourite for the final, believe it or not. Yes, the trap 6 draw is an issue there, and I know there are liabilities at stake. Certainly from the Boyle Sports point of view, I haven't seen any other prices. I'm just going to check if there's any other prices up there. But here we are, a dog with just the most stunning early speed out in trap 6. And I'm not going to say he's guaranteed a clear passage or anything like it, but the fact that he's not favourite just tells you how good this final is. Is like, am I going over the top? Is he really this good, Declan? Like, I don't know. Am I kidding myself?
Well, we can only go by what we see.
Yeah.
Hasn't done much on so far. He was only beaten once, and he seems to run from any trap. He's a machine at the moment. There's no doubt. But again, insane. He's got a hell of a race in his hands on Saturday. But yeah, he's some prospect, all right.
There is one major issue with them that I've noticed a few of the firms, and one firm in particular. Oh no, it's not. It's a different firm this week. He's flight time in some places, and he's flight line in others. They obviously think it's time to fly with flight line on the outside.
Yeah.
Last week it was Boyle Sports that did it, and the Green Machine. And this week I see a couple of others have gone flight time rather than flight line. Second was Short Grip, as we said. Back in third spot, Tommy, Unmatched came through. She was fourth down the back straight. Grouchos Duke, having not got the clear run he needed on the opening corner. He has tremendous early speed, but his sister was just there holding him up. He was third down the back straight. Looked like he was just after getting around the third bend, clear as a whistle. And then, bam, clipped from behind, and his race was run. Unmatched came through to qualify in third. Another one through for Johnny Linden.
Yeah, Unmatched is actually a smashing the ground. She's bred to be competing at the kind of top level anyway. But she has been in good company all her career. You know the story of it though. Like the top of the market in terms of the ability, the top of the races in terms of ability is going to make it difficult for anything else to get involved. But it's a seriously interesting race with the trap draw. Seriously interesting race. Have I made my mind up on it yet? Probably not, although I think Druppy Flightline is the most likely. Would you not think that he's the most likely winner of the final?
I thought he was the overpriced dog in the race, I have to say. My initial thoughts were the Ballinkill Alpha would be as big to win the race itself as he was prior to the semi-finals in the outright market. I think he went up 6-4 originally. I thought that was too short, just given the fact that Short Grip was on his inside. He's 7-4 now in places. That's his best price. I think I'd be leaving that alone. Don't get me wrong. If he pops out and clears Short Grip in those first 2 strides, he's going to set a searing gallop, and he's going to be very, very difficult to beat. But it's going to take an absolute flyer. Highview Splash is, he's 4-1 best. I think that's big as well. I just thought they'd be a bit tighter at the top.
I'm struggling with Highview Splash. I was looking at the heat. I was looking at it because I fancied him in the heats the other night. I was tempted to back him at 6s, to win it outright before the semi-finals. And then I kind of thought, you know what, if he gets a tricky draw in the final, what sort of price is he? Where's the real value in it? And there's so much early pace. I just felt the makeup of the race the other night was almost ideal in terms of him getting a clear run at it. I'm not so sure now. I'm not so sure now at all You know what? If Short Grip and Ballykillath came together and all of a sudden High View Splash broke like he did the other night and happened to get across, yeah, he's a massive player. But I think if that doesn't happen, if one or both of the two inside get free somewhat, he's going to struggle to kind of find a position or a place to make his run. It might actually help out Droopy's flight line, to be honest. But like Short Grip is as you said, is the concern in the race. 202 the last night, which is huge. And I mean, Ballykillath did what, 20, was it 203, or Flightline did 203 anyway. What did Ballykillath do the other night? 205 or something, was it?
I would have said he was slower than that. He didn't seem to take a flyer. He did a 205, yeah, just goes to show how
205,
quick
yeah.
he actually is, yeah.
Yeah, he is. He's a tremendous early base. He's a carbon copy of his brother, actually. But anyway, but yeah, I think like I'd have to oppose the two inside Short Grip and Ballykillath, thinking that I don't know how or where they're going to avoid each other, how it's going to happen in that early stage. It'll be remarkable if it does happen. Hopefully it does, and there's a clean run race and all that. But like if you want to pick one of them, you got to pick five or six. I think if you're going to have a bet, and I just think the five dog High View Splash just find it a little bit tricky to get a run. Droopy Flyland, it's not ideal that he's out in six, but he showed he coped the other night. He's going to have dogs that aren't going to be taking the ground that he wants unless they get one of them gets a clear run up the inside, whichever one that is. So I definitely side with him. I think the 9 to 4 is perfectly fine. Slightly big actually.
Declan, what's your thoughts?
I would probably agree with that. Like you have to say, it was slightly disappointing last week. Yeah, be honest about it. You know, you can say he's bumped in, whatever, but he was 7.5 lengths in the end. Now, if he hits the lead, if he gets away, I agree with you also, though, head of Short Grip and gets on the fence, then he is the one to beat. If you strictly go on what we saw last Saturday, I think Ruby's flight time will be the one, but it's not a race to invest too heavily on, that's for sure.
No, certainly not. I tend to agree with you. I think all eyes will be on the two inside traps as the hare comes up behind the boxes, and then we'll soon move on to see what actually does happen thereafter on the outside of the track. But I think all eyes will be on Short Grip and not Stone Park. I'm looking at the semi-finals. Short Grip and Ballykillath in those opening 5 strides. If they do clash, I think it'll be one of the outside two that goes around in front. If the inside two clash, though, it certainly does leave the door open somewhat as well for Zelda unmatched. Like there wouldn't be a bad winner of this competition. Yes, they will be double figure prices at Druby Zelda and unmatched, but there's no question both of them are capable of a 28-20 on the bunny. You can't say that's not capable of winning a Juvenile Derby.
No, but unmatched can lead. He has done it. It is a surprise. It's a shock result. I can see that unmatched leading on the way. That just could happen, but it's unlikely.
Yeah, no, wonderful, wonderful racing to look forward to, and a great race to look forward to at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. The Time Greyhound Nutrition Juvenile Derby. Again, our thanks to Time Greyhound Nutrition. Don't forget, it'll be televised live on Racing Post Greyhound Television on Saturday night, the entire card. Also at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, Declan, just want to get your thoughts. The Mustang Jet at Stud Open Bitch 525 and the brilliant winner that is Fashion Model. I was so taken by this lady on debut, and to come from 8 lengths behind a bitch that had qualified in 28:38 in the final is pretty unbelievable. She's not quite in the same mold as Mustang Jet, but she's similar enough connections because she's owned by Paul Horrig and owned by Stephen Burke, who's the son of obviously Sean Burke, who had Mustang Jet. She's not the carbon copy of him, but by God, she can run. She was unbelievable the other night, Declan again.
She was, but it's one of those brilliant and deserving winner and very unlucky loser, because the Liberty one, the phenomenal run. She did everything right, got out way ahead, and just said, no, can't be caught, but she was, you know what I mean? So they're both exceptional.
Yeah, no, it's one of those races. Like even Scooby Countess, I believe she's only coming back from season. She's only beaten 2.5 lengths in ahead. I think she's a very bright future. Mustang Frankie's shown enough. Matt's last qualified in 28:50 odd. Didn't happen for her the other night. Didn't happen for her in the opening round. But there's no question there's an engine there. And Cute Intention would have needed to lead. That was such an impressive semi-final score. I think we'll find in time that there's real depth in this final. But just the way Fashion Model does it, like her engine, like I don't think she'll be an Oaks winner because you can't come from 8 8 lengths behind to win an Oaks. That just doesn't seem to happen anymore.
Yeah.
But 28.45 at this stage in her career, over 525 yards, when she'll certainly stay 550, 575, 600 yards. She's just one of those ladies where if she does develop a little bit more early speed, and it could certainly happen, I'm not sure where her ceiling is. I believe she's off now to Pack Guilfoyle. Stephen Burke has shown that he can train a dog, so I wouldn't be too concerned by. I wouldn't be thinking they'll be Pat will find lengths and lengths with her, but with natural improvement, she's clearly one to keep an eye on. That
she's very, very. We but an unraced stake those confined pitches, But I mean, look, they can only do what they. I think first and second were brilliant, quite frankly.
No, a tremendous. It was actually good night racing at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night. Good Maestro was a good winner. Others that impressed, Deadly Showtime got off the front. He was a deserving winner. Have to mention our old pal Barry Call had the winner of the opener. Black Bridges took a flyer, made every inch of the running. That box ticked. I've been getting the text tomorrow morning. Otherwise, Tommy down to Limerick. The Cambridgeshire was won by your favourite dog in training, Kinturk Road. She got off the front. She opened up an impressive advantage. Hookham ran on very strongly. He's turning into a really nice stayer. And 365 also stayed on very strongly, but didn't happen for her. She would have needed to take the lead early. Same for Hookham. But Kinturk Road, she has some record of a 750-yard trip.
Yeah, she's brilliant. Like she she was going to be impressive. She was going to be impressive. She had the race all impressive.
She's doing 40,
no, she was. She was. No, but she yes. But she likes just give them a little bit of a chance. So give her supporters a little bit of a touch of a heart attack, because she seemed to let them back into it and then find a bit extra coming home. Like I think she actually, because there's almost a bit of a personality to her racing, which is a strange thing to say. That the type of greyhound I like. She didn't quite make it easy on people who are following her, but she's very hard to beat. Really, really hard to beat. The one thing I would like to say, sorry, just about the fashion model, I just love that damn line. Cool Valley Chick, Tom's Delight, Woodhill Spark, Linger, and Martinstown Gold. I mean,
it's me.
I just love that. I love that damn line.
Between Coolavany Chick now and her sister on Lock and Lock, like you just look at them. Yeah. It's just an unbelievable pedigree, really.
Yeah, it really is. But anyway, back to Kinturk Road. Kinturk Road is just fabulous. I mean, I joke about it because, like, I backed her once and she won, and she just gave me a bit of a heart attack when she didn't need to. She had the race under control. It was a bit like that final the other night, and there was a moment. I don't care how impressive you say she was, and 41.23 is brilliant. There was a moment when you thought, oh, they're coming back at her fairly hard.
Yeah, I'd have taken even money off the last bend now, Tommy, if you'd offered us. Declan, all of a sudden there is a bit of a six bend sort of category there. Like there's some really nice stairs around.
Well, and the thing about kids, and even at 750, it's great being in front. I mean, there's always shuffling, and you're the one in front, and then she can produce a bit extra when needed. That has that bit extra coming to the line as well. The 10 out of 11 750 races won. That's outstanding. That's outstanding.
Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah. It's all of a sudden turning into a nice sort of situation where we're getting towards the back end of the year. You find dogs stepping up and tripping and whatnot. Like the Winter Racing Festival, like those couple of stay-in races could be very interesting indeed.
Oh, and as you say, second, third, Hookham, this seems to be his game, all right. And she's a Derby fan. For a 751 to reach a Derby fan, it's just incredible.
They're going to have some choice to make on the Winter Racing Festival. Do we run her the bitch race to 550, to 525, to 750, or just pick a different race? Like they'll literally be given any race they want, you'd assume.
Yeah, and great for the ton of people being involved as well who are in the game so long. It's just a lovely story.
Yeah, no, great story.
Train what, a year and a half.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Was a Project Stakes runner up as well? I mean, it's you Derby finals and the Project Stakes runner up in second and third. It's hard to grab Kinturk, my old pal Kinturk Road. 3-1.
I keep telling you.
3-1.
People are listening to you, Tommy. That's the problem. I keep telling them, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. The last couple of
disclaimer on the bottom.
The last couple of minutes of this podcast could be the Graham Holland hour, because he had two runners in the UK at the weekend, Jack Tavern Bella and Bocco's Crystal. Jack Tavern Bella ran her heart out in the final of the Premier Greyhound Racing St. Ledger at Perry Bar, but she ran into a hot one, Droopy's Clue. is potentially as good a stare as they've had in the UK in a long, long time. 6 bend stare. I'm not sure 8 bends will be in his remit, but very, very impressive. He got to the front early. He like Jack Tavern Bella took a flyer and she's been in great form. He took a flyer and he just raced by her into the bend and he raced on by 6 lengths. He's one of those dogs where he had loads of 4 bend pace, but just probably didn't have the early speed. Whereas you step up to 6 bends has really suited him. And he was a very, very special winner for Seamus Cahill. It's worth mentioning that, rather than just Jack Tavern Bella, as we do with our green tinted glasses, Jack Tavern Bella ran a big, big race and she'll be back for the likes of the Winter Racing Festival, you'd imagine. I don't know if she'll have much more racing after that. I'd say we should be off to the breeding paddocks then. And Bocco's Crystal ran a blinder in the final of the Birmingham Cup, desperately and lucky not to get around the corner. She's just trying to nudge up the inside of Hawkfield Ozark on the opening corner. If doing so, she would have certainly won. As it was, she gets entangled with the leader and she loses all sorts of chance. She goes back to third or fourth and she runs on again to make the frame, finishing third. Two big runs by the 2 Graham Holland trained ladies at Perry Bar at the weekend. I hear rumours that he will be heading back to the UK very shortly with a couple. Just don't be surprised if he has a runner in the Eclipse around Nottingham. That would be interesting. And last but certainly not least, I thought it was a nice way to finish. Romeo Magico. It was all with little fanfare that he was sort of announced he was going to stud. Just an Instagram post of him chewing away on his little soft toy, a badger as it happens. His nickname is Badger, and just thought we spoke about him so many times over the last 2 years, Tommy. What a star he's been from the early days where consistency wasn't always there, but the brilliance was. And then the second year where he ran so well in the Easter Cup before going to the English Derby, where he was a brilliant champion, and he's been a star throughout his career. A dog with massive, massive ability and pace. So fluent down the back straight when he gets into full stride. I'm going to miss him.
Yeah, at his best, his 2 to 3 was phenomenal, brilliant to watch. And most top greyhounds don't get what they deserve out of it, but he got an English Derby out of it, which is testament to him and his ability and to his connections. He was a fabulous dog, and hopefully he'll have a good career in stud.
That's where he's off to, Declan. He's off to stud, given his constitution, his ability, his looks even. He was just the most stunning looking greyhound. And as I said, when he got into full stride down the back straight, a joy to behold.
Yeah, he was a very good dog. And it's amazing the Cup because it is such a signpost for both the English and the Irish Derby every year. But he was, and Tommy makes, there's so many outstanding greyhounds that just don't pick up a big pot for some reason or another. But he did, and superb. And I'm sure he'll be very much in demand.
Yeah, no, the best of luck to Romeo Magico in his career. Obviously we all remember that night in Tolster when he slipped up the inside of Kildare at that second bend and it charged their front down the back straight as he would do to emerge a very, very good winner of the English Derby. But I always remember the night against Susie Sapphire in the Easter Cup, and he absolutely took off into the third bend, only just to run into the dog at that third bend and was forced to check his stride. But the pace he showed that night against the very, very, very best was unbelievable. And if he's passing that on to his progeny, well, I'm sure he'll be pretty popular. And the best of luck to Romeo Magico in his future career. May he enjoy it and may he have time on the couch or with time with his soft toy. But that's it from us on this Talking Dogs on a Monday. We look forward to a wonderful time Greyhound Nutrition Juvenile Derby final at Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, again live on Racing Post Greyhound Television. And of course, 2 weeks later, the final of the Bar 1 Racing Irish Laurels will also be live on Racing Post Greyhound Television. And that is really coming to a boil. Just lovely. Looking forward to next week's action. But that's it from us on this Tuesday evening. Again, my thanks to the exiled dub Tommy Lyons and to the maestro Declan O'Donoghue. That's it from me. We'll see you next time. Good luck. Good evening. God bless.